So Dave and Sue and Gary and Dick Davis, and these other people that were on the boat with us, some of their families were there, and Dave was just delighted to hear people saying, "Oh, that was fantastic." Dick was over the moon with it. Sue was, she was asking people there. She was asking Betty how things were. Me and Oliver tied the boat up. We made sure everyone was secure. David was down talking to Tim, asking how things went. He didn't realise that Tim was been drinking. Me and Oliver made sure that all the gear was taken off. We'd washed it and dried it in the buckets. We'd hung the gear for the people. We'd give it back to them. David made sure that everybody got back to the hotel. Richie was there. They put them on Dave's boat, on Dive Dreams, and Richie ferried them back to their hotels. And they would be back with us in the morning to do regular dives. Once the boat was secured and everything was put away and locked up, I showered off. Ollie showered off. I shook hands with Ollie. Told Ollie, it was great to dive with him, and great to get to know him and stuff. And he said the same thing. He would be looking forward to the next trip with me. And me and Ollie solidified a good, decent friendship. He was a nice kid. Dave and I and Dick and Gary and Sue all walked back up to the Jade Garden and went out onto the decking at the back, and we just sat down, and Sue had some food made for us. I had pepper steak, black bean sauce, and French fries, chips, and a Coke. Dave had his rum. Dick had a couple of rums. Gary had a couple of rums. I didn't drink back then. And we were just, we were talking about, how things were. Tim went down. He was married, so Tim went down. He just, I think his daughter Lisa came up with a golf cart, ferried him back home. Tim could barely walk, and Dave saw my face, and Oliver left as well. Oliver went back downtown. Dave saw my face, and he asked me what the problem was, and I just told him straight up. And fucking Dick was ripping. Dick was raging. And David wasn't impressed. David knew I didn't tell him lies. I wasn't going to tell that, but I just wanted to be honest with him. And I just says, look, Dave, you need to speak to him, because people were asking me if he was drunk. I says, I'm not being a tool, I'm not being a dickhead, but I says people's safety is paramount. You know what I mean? And he's fucking drinking, when everybody else wasn't, and he's in charge of the boat. And I said that's like drinking and driving. And so Dave and Gary and Dick had all agreed that they were just going to sit down and just tell Tim, if he does it again, he's gone. They just weren't having it at all. If he wanted to drink, he could drink in his own time. That was David's, Gary's, and Dick's business. That was their financial business. So they were just over the moon that the trip had went well. David had been out to the Blue Hole a couple of times. Dick had been there, Gary had been there, so they knew what it was going to be like. I was just blown away, and just really grateful to have been on the boat and stuff. And Dave moved me from basically doing the regular diving to the Blue Holes, and we had the Blue Hole trips 3-4 times a week. They came fast and furious. Once the people knew that the Manta IV was on the island, they got the reviews, which would have been in Scuba Diving magazine, and just general word of mouth was brilliant. But it bent a lot of people out of shape on the island, a lot of the local guys. So Ray Bowers he had his company called Out Island Divers, and his boat was called the Reef Roma, and it looked like a shitty, nasty boat. It wasn't as big as the Manta IV, but it was top heavy, and it swayed like this. His deck was up and it swayed a lot, and Dave called it the Reef Rammer because apparently it had grounded itself in the reef a couple of times and had holes put in the sides and in the bow and had to be rescued. So Dave called it the Reef Rammer. So that bent Ray Bowers out of shape. He wasn't happy about that at all, because he'd seen us at the Blue Hole and he'd seen how full we are. And so he started making a lot of noise about this, that it was taking divers from everybody else, and there was more than enough divers to go around, but he was just pissed that we got the Manta IV. And he got into it with Dick Davis. Dick was gonna fucking smash his face in. Dick was a very calm guy, but you know, Dick was also, I found out that Dick had also been American Special Forces, and Dick had been a Green Beret, and I'd seen, you know, quite a bit of shit. And as nice as Dick was, you know, Dick was the silent assassin type guy, you know what I mean? Dick would have cut your throat while he was drinking a cup of coffee while sitting beside you. And I didn't know that Dick had been in the military. He's just a very, very easygoing guy. So Dick got into it with Ray. Ray knew who Dick was. Dick had a lot of pull. And Dick just shut his mouth down. Didn't hit him, just told him. And Ray just, you know, backed off. I met Ray down in Fido's courtyard a few days later when I was down there with David, and he was drunk, and he came up to me, and he had this big beer with a big frothy head on it, and he came on, he just plonked himself down beside me, and, you know, uninvited, starts kind of rambling, and I picked up his beer, and I says, I think you need some head. And he looked at me, and I blew the froth in his face, and he fucking warp spasmed. He, you know, started. I just looked at him, and I had the glass in my hand, and I just wanted to smash that glass in his face, to be honest. But he got the gist, and I just told him to fuck off, and off he went. And it was uncalled for, it was unnecessary, but it was more competition for other people on the island, and, you know, people saw that as just as a threat, and, you know, them losing money when they really weren't losing money. He might have been losing money from his boat, the reef rammer, because it was just a pile of crap. And you know, obviously the Manta IV was a better boat. It had a history on it. It had the 2 movies. It had Tony Welsh, Raquel Welch's daughter, on it. Steve Guttenberg had been on it, so it had a good history. It had pictures around the boat of the film crew, the bed where Tony Welsh slept in, all this type of stuff. So the boat had a good history. It had been in the movie. People were taking pictures of it. You know, people used to walk down the dock and ask me, could they come on? You know, people always ask permission, could they come on your boat? I never let anybody just walk on it, because that was just rude. And they would take pictures, and I'd let them take pictures of each other and stuff, and, you know, and that type of thing, and sit and get to know them. And then I was fishing for people to come on the boat, and I would sell them, basically the Manta IV diving, and we ended up making loads and loads of money on it, and it was a great atmosphere. All the drama with the Manta IV soon died down. It was a couple of months later, and everybody just accepted the fact that, you know, Dave had his license to dive, had his business, you know, was a Belizean citizen, married to a Belizean, you know, all this type of thing, and they really couldn't say anything. And I'm not being, you know, racist or anything, but it was just the fact that Dave was a white, you know, a white instructor, and it was role reversal. It was role reversal, you know what I mean? And like I mentioned before, it was the same when people came here from other countries to do the jobs that, you know, we didn't want to do, and all of a sudden the Polish are getting slagged, the Lithuanians are getting slagged, and, you know, the Caribbean Africans are getting slagged, and anybody that came in the country that wanted to work was fucking just getting abused. So, you know, we got a taste of that down in Belize. It was what it was. It wasn't anything to get bent on a shape over. It was just life. So people just generally accepted that the Manta IV was there to stay, and yeah, we got a lot of business. We got a great reputation. Dave came out on the boat a couple of times. Sue had come back from Miami after getting treatment. That was the first night she came back, that she came down to the dock, and I didn't really understand why Sue had been away, and that, you know, a couple of days later David told me why, and yeah, I felt kind of bad for her. I wouldn't want anybody to suffer for cancer, and that was something else that I was to go through quite a few years later, so I knew kind of how that felt. But the Manta IV was my home. I lived on it, I ate on it, slept on it, showered on it, and dove on it. It was brilliant, and we did that for a couple of years. Still did the local diving as well, and then I was to run into Patojo a couple of nights later in town.